Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Elderly man dies after collapsing near hospital in Manchester. An elderly man died after collapsing in the vicinity of the Mandeville Regional Hospital in Manchester. It's reported that the man was along the roadway yesterday morning when he collapsed. He was assisted to the nearby hospital by the police. He was subsequently pronounced dead. The deceased is yet to be identified by the police. Head of the Manchester Police Superintendent Lord Darby said the incident is being treated as a case of sudden death. Him gone like that. The pain of losing a loved one was evident on the face of Mary Lewis. Him gone like that, the elderly woman lamented on Thursday, hours after her grandson, 27-year-old beekeeper Tavares Stevens, and 3-year-old Kamoy Williams have been shot dead by criminals traveling in a Toyota Axio motor car. Stevens and the little boy were among a group of people standing outside a small wooden shop in this normally quiet community when gunmen attacked at approximately 7 p.m. Wednesday. A second man who was shot during the drive-by has been hospitalized. Lewis was unable to hold back the tears as she described her grandson as her favorite relative. He had grown up in the church and was not a troublemaker, she told reporters. Stevens' sister, who gave her name only as Shushi, said that the murder has left the family badly shaken. "I am heartbroken. He is my favorite brother," she said before breaking down in tears. One resident, who gave his name as Mr. Burgess, said the shooting has left him distraught and shocked. "We always hear about it in other places on the news, but me never know said this one would have so close to we so. For the community is usually quiet and nice. The whole of we live as one," he said. Police say the shooting may have been a payback for an attack that took place late last month. "We know that it is a reprisal to a March 26 shooting that occurred in the same space," Assistant Commissioner of Police ACP Clifford Chambers, who is in charge of Air 1, told reporters. "The police have relentlessly pursued the persons who are responsible for that shooting, and we were not able to arrest them, but we know that they have fled from the space and out of the parish," he added. ACP Chambers said that the rugged terrain of the Cascade community, which the police do not consider a crime hotspot, had hampered efforts to nab the perpetrators on Wednesday's incident. "We were not able to get the kind of investigative traction that we would have wanted, but we have a clear idea of what it is that they are looking for, and now we are doing some operations in St. James and a section of Hanover," he said, adding that the victims of Wednesday's evening attack were innocent people. They were in the vicinity of the man who is alleged to have shot this man on March 26, ACP Chambers stated. Golden blames poor infrastructure for tragic Mobay floods. Opposition leader Mark Golden on Thursday blamed poor infrastructure and garbage collection system for Tuesday's devastating flood that caused the death of 12-year-old Janelle Walters, whose grandmother, 68-year-old Beryl Walters, remains missing after also being washed away. "The infrastructure of the city is really not adequate to address heavy rainfall, and so we have regular flooding, and now we've lost lives from this flooding," Golden said on Thursday as he visited the young girl's Corner Court family home in St. James. Reports are that Janelle, Beryl, and the child's aunt, Shannon Walters, were passengers in a motor car being driven by Beryl Walters, Jenny's grandfather, when they were trapped by floodwaters along the Westgate Main Road on Tuesday. The car was washed away into the river, where Beres and Shannon were rescued by bystanders and emergency responders from the Montego Bay Freeport Fire Station, who braved the raging waters. The body of Janelle, a 7th grader at Mobay High School, was recovered near the cruise ship pier on Tuesday. Golden comforted her by grieving parents, Christy Gilbert and Nicholas Walters, reassuring them that the country was also mourning their loss. "It's a terrible tragedy for one family to lose a promising daughter in the first year of high school, and her grandmother is still missing, so they don't really have closure yet," Golden told reporters. He said Tuesday's tragic death from the flood is as a result of the ongoing problems of garbage collection in the country and the inadequate arrangement for drain cleaning. The municipal corporations are not getting the special allocation to manage the situation with drain cleaning, and so there are a lot of problems with the overflow of water and the attendant damage and loss of lives, the opposition leader said. He continued, "This is a serious issue, which needs to be addressed, and we're calling on the government to look at the situation in Montego Bay in relation to how the drainage system is not working and what needs to be done. Goldin argued that while the country has been building an excellent road network for decades, some of the basic infrastructure that are needed so that people can live and survive in their daily routines without danger is lacking. And we need to see the government responding to this. He called for the garbage collection crisis in the country to be addressed, noting that it was not unique to Montego Bay. Prime Minister Andrew Holness noted, "Our economy is recovering much faster than expected." In fact, Staten released new unemployment figures of 6.2%, the lowest level of unemployment in Jamaica's history.
We are now at a point where all the signs are showing that we are about to take off in our economic growth. Our economy is recovering. It has recovered rapidly, much faster than we had expected. And in fact, Staten just released new unemployment figures, the lowest unemployment in Jamaica's history, 6.2%. Now, at 6.2%, there is still a great deal of persons who would be unemployed. Possibly between 75 and 80,000 Jamaicans would be unemployed. But we can't, as the government, just sit by and say, "Oh, this is so great." Because you have to be considering what happens when you get to 3% unemployment. Would we have enough labor to keep the industries going? We have to be thinking about these things. And could Jamaica ever reach a point in its development where businesses want to come here, to relocate here, to do business here, with our birth rate basically at replacement, meaning that the population is not growing fast, with net migration, about 25,000 Jamaicans leave on average on a yearly basis, most of them trained. Where will we find the labor? Very important point for our consideration. And this is something our young people should start to think about. Because if you were to take, for example, construction, we have, and I'm just speaking about the hotel industry, we have approximately 8 projects, which are large projects, that should come on board. We may be able to find most of the skilled labor. We will have to now ramp up very quickly our training institutions so that we can plan to meet the demand that is to come.
Plastic pollution has gone too far. Manufacturers and other stakeholders in the goods producing industry are being urged to gear up to meet drastic changes that are expected to the global regime governing the consumption of plastics within another 8 years. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matty Samudo, in observance of Earth Day 2022, issued the call during Friday's sitting of the Upper House. That's going to require significant investment. It's also going to require significant resolve. The Globe has decided that plastic pollution has gone too far. He told the Senate, pointing to the resolution adopted by delegates on March 2nd at the closing of the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly in Kenya, to make way for the establishment of a legally binding global treaty to 2024 to end plastic pollution. We will have to work across the aisles with our private sector partners to get Jamaica ready. The pattern of consumption will not be the same in 2030 based on how I see this resolution developing. So we have to ready our manufacturers so that we don't have the fallout in income that comes to them. Then they create a fallout in employment. There is a lot of work to do, he cautioned. At the same time, Senator Samuda warned that time is running out in the fight against climate change, pointing to the recent incidents of sudden adverse weather which have claimed lives, such as flooding in St. James this week, during which a child died. 50 years ago, persons couldn't contemplate that sort of volume of rain over that period of time. Unfortunately, we will see more of it, so we are in a race against time, and the cost of not winning that race is going to be human lives, he said. The climate has changed. It's not a future concept that we are discussing. What we are concerned with is the rate of change. Weather patterns are significantly different, so our investments have to take into consideration the type of infrastructure and resilience required and the capacity of said infrastructure, he stated. Meanwhile, Samuda stressed that efforts to advance the greening of the economy by changing the country's energy mix will require political maturity and has major political implications. We've already articulated that our ambition for Jamaica is to have 50% of our energy sources coming from renewables, so that energy needs and the development and investment that are required to really build renewable sources are going to take a lot of work, he said. He pointed to other initiatives being taken to protect and sustain the environment, such as the completion of the legal framework for the Black River Moss area, as well as for more than 78,000 hectares of the cockpit country. Also stressing the urgency of protecting the environment, Opposition Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns said the country will have to abandon some of the practices which bring economic growth but damage the environment. We are going to have that discussion because it is going to include retooling our workforce, finding new and innovative economic activities to ensure that our unemployment rate continues to trend down. The opposition stands ready to sit at the table to make its contribution, she told the Senate. Teamed Invest in Our Planet, Earth Day 2022, focus on fast-tracking solutions to combat climate change by engaging governments, institutions, businesses, and people to acknowledge collective responsibility. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.